Well, as we've been talking about, the battle over financial regulation continues today in Washington. The House Financial Services Committee will be hearing testimony from Tim Geithner, Ben Bernanke, and Sheila Bair. Now, Congressman Gregory Meeks is a Democrat from New York and also a member of the Financial Services Committee. And he joins me now from Capitol Hill. Congressman, thanks so much for being with us.
Good being with you.
Well, as we were talking about, there's a lot of disagreement between Bernanke and Geithner and Bair and all of those players. I mean, who do you most side with in this?
Well, you know what? I think this is what's great. We're listening to all of them. And I think that, I'm trying to keep my mind open and listen because we're going to try to come up with some regulatory changes and policies that's going to last for the next generation. And I think that it's important not to rush to judgment, but to listen and try to come up with the best possible reform that we can. And thereby, we got to listen to all of the stakeholders.
Right, but the biggest point of contention, or at least one of the biggest points of contention, Congressman, is who is going to be this systemic risk regulator. And I know the Obama White House says that it should be the Fed. Is that at least something that you can agree on?
Well, I'm looking at it. I'm talking to the administration. I'm talking to members of the Treasury Department and others. And at the same time, though, I've had meetings with Sheila Bair and a number of others who feel that we should have a council. And so I'm listening to that also. I think it's just too early to make a permanent a decision right now without weighing and listening and weighing all the facts. The key is getting it right. And we know that we need a systemic risk regulator. We know that we've got to put certain new reforms in place. Who and what is the best way to oversight that? I'm listening. And that's what these hearings are about. And I thank Chairman Barney Frank for having us every day this week. We've had some other regulator in to be able to ask them questions. And I think that's what this democracy is all about.
Well, Congressman, then let me ask you this. As you're sitting there during the hearing, what facts are you hoping to hear, or what are you going to be listening for that will help you make your decision on this?
Well, I want to try to listen to see whether, for example, if the Fed, does that give them too much authority? Will it, by the fact you have it consolidated within one agency, that is the best way so you don't have to have all of these other boxes to be checked? Or if you have this council, what is the role of each regulatory agency? I want to make sure that we're not creating a bigger bureaucracy, but there's no coordination between them. So I'm trying. That's really the deciding factor in my head. On one hand, you could have more than one regulatory body, which could mean that you have to, there's more regulation in regards. You got to check with this regulator or that regulator, making it more cumbersome. And on the other hand, you may be making one particular regulatory body too powerful. So you got to weigh the balance between the two, in my estimation.
Well, knowing what you know about the different agencies, I mean, does anything give you pause at all in giving more expanded power to the Fed?
Well, the pause is that I could be creating, a bureau that is too big. And, there was a lot of blame to go around for this current crisis that we're in, including the Fed and including, a number of others. And so, and as well as ourselves in Congress. So that is the pause. So the pause is how can we best put a system in place that's going to protect the investor and that's going to protect our financial system, because that, to me, is the key of our continuing and moving forward and leading in the cutting edge in the global economy. And so I've got a lot to consider.
Right, and I suppose the other side of that is how do you, as lawmakers and those in Congress, how do you continue to enforce that and make sure that these agencies or a council of agencies don't overstep their bounds? Isn't that a risk there?
Well, that's true, and that's why there's got to be some oversight, and that's where Congress does come in. I think that we are in oversight of these regulatory bodies, and we've got to make sure that on our side that we do our jobs also, no matter who, whether it's the Fed or whether it's this council of regulators. So there's got to be oversight there. We've got to be energetic and ready to take that responsibility. And so, I mean, there's a lot that I think that has to happen here, but I think that we're doing it right. I think Chairman Frank is doing it right. As I said, every day, some regulator is coming in to testify, and we're allowed to ask questions. We're asking questions at hearings, and we're asking questions by calling up regulators, having people coming to our offices, trying to get to the heart of the matter. And I think that we're not going to have a vote before August recess. By the time we come back, I hope to be back here with you, and I can tell you ultimately what decision I made and why I made it.
Congressman, I want to just ask you a very quick question, not related to this exactly, but about the banks. You know, we've been talking a lot about the money being given to banks under the TARP program and the increases in salaries we've seen so far. But we also had some news earlier this week that Goldman Sachs, when they paid back the TARP money, that the government earned about a 23% return. The same for State Street, about an 11% return. Why haven't we heard the same level of voice from Congress about the amount of money made from these programs?
Well, you know what? I know Chairman Frank sent out a letter when he heard about the Goldman Sachs, the money that they returned, and it tantamount to 22% interest. I, for one, believe that we did the right thing in Congress. I voted for the TARP money. I thought it was necessary, and I know it was a difficult vote, but I thought that if we had not voted for it, that we could have had a larger catastrophe than we did. And I think that now that the money's being paid back, that's a good thing. And we predicted that at the time.
Okay, Congressman, we're out of time. Thank you so much for joining us, Congressman Meeks.